Kumoko, a solitary girl, faced perpetual humiliation and was deemed unattractive because in her vicinity, until a sudden event occurred. A brilliant light streaked across the heavens, obliterating her skull and everyone within it. Upon comprehending what had transpired, she found herself reincarnated as an arachnid in a fantastical realm. Say the not, my friend, who suffers from severe arachnophobia, will be utterly horrified by this revelation. She now possessed a comprehensive system of levels and abilities, strikingly similar to those found in a role-playing game. Her formidable capabilities allowed her to confront even the mightiest dragons of that world, and should you also desire reincarnation into a fantasy setting, please like and comment below, sharing which creature you choose to become. Personally, if you would be worried, we do not predict and good at reference right with the jury. Immediately after hatching, the initial second that created her was horrifying. Her siblings were engaged in cannibalism. Utterly bewildered, she attempted to flee the gruesome scene, only to be confronted by an enormous spider. This colossal arachnid, poised to strike you, was in fact her mother, who regarded Kumoko as mere sustenance. In a desperate bid for survival, she fervently wished for an exceptionally powerful ability, akin to those featured in overpowered anime. Subsequently, a voice resonated within her consciousness, presenting an option to allocate 100 ability points to acquire the appraisal skill. She promptly accepted, believing that if this were a typical isekai, this particular skill would be crucial for her survival. However, this world proved unlike the slam isekai or vending machine isekai scenarios. Instead, it was a truly desolate realm, rendering her much anticipated appraisal ability utterly worthless in practice. Its sole function was object identification, meaning she had squandered all her points on a skill that merely displayed names. Devoid of any resources, she urgently needed to procure food, yet the labyrinth where she had been spawned, teemed with exceptionally perilous beings, yet the adhered the last, were searching for an alternative route. She spotted human fear, leading her to believe she had at last found a potential helper. However, upon closer inspection, she discovered the human was merely the lifeless body of her own brother. The sight was so profoundly disturbing that she lost control and involuntarily urinated. Being a spider, however, only white silk threads emerged. All that remained was for this arachnid to begin exclaiming Arana to perfectly resemble a particular game character. Proceeding with her web, she constructed a modest refuge, fortifying it with a very defensive concept. Nevertheless, intense hunger compromised its integrity, causing it to collapse. Her sole, grim option was to consume her deceased siblings. Just before her life force depleted, she commenced devouring her brother as remains. Upon completion, this system announced a new skill, Kin Eater, which started at level 1. Concurrently, the forbidden taboo ability and heretic magic were unlocked. Intrigued, she endeavored to ask her time the method for utilizing this enigmatic magical art. Believing she had a clever notion, she concentrated all her energy and attempted to summon this heretical power. After a period, Kumoko observed a frog ensnared in her web. However, the creature retaliated by ejecting a chemical substance directly into her eye, partially obscuring her sight. The amphibian persisted in its poisonous assault. But once Kumoko acquired acid resistance level 1, she started evading its attacks with enhanced accuracy, eventually succeeding in delivering a beat. As moments passed, she continued to retrieve new bones. In this instance, a skill, the frog, now desperate, sprayed poison across her entire form. Yet, despite her injuries, Kumoko thought it would become her mate. Leaping agilely, she evaded its assault, and upon discovering an opportune moment, she struck from the rail, embedding her fangs into the creature's neck and swiftly dispatching it. After her victory, she even performed a celebratory Fortnite dance. However, upon sampling the flashlight, she discovered it was among the most unappetizing things she had ever consumed. Nevertheless, it sufficed to sustain her, and survival necessitated tolerating a revulsion. With each passing day, she ensnared an increasing number of frogs, transporting them to her recently constructed refuge. Once she reached a specific threshold, her poisonous fangs ability advanced to level 2, and her physical form commenced transformation. This system subsequently declared that Kumoko had attained level 2, resulting in the enhancement of all her skill and the healing of her injuries. She had little opportunity to celebrate, as she observed one of her web had ensnared another being this team, a human. The individual hurled an incendiary device, incinerating all her web and making an escape, leaving a peculiar egg in his wake. Her delicate abode was ultimately ruined, yet Kumoko remained undeterred. She reconstructed everything, establishing a new base, featuring areas akin to a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom. Furthermore, she installed an alert system designed to vibrate upon the capture of a monster. However, her stomach signaled that she was already famished. To inaugurate her new dwelling, she determined it was the ideal moment to consume the unusual egg that had been abandoned. Nevertheless, upon attempting to crack the egg, she found it to be harder than steel. Consequently, she employed her ingenious method of forcefully hurling it against the ground. Despite this, the egg remained undamaged. Puzzled by the nature of the egg, Kumoko utilized her appraisal skill, and for those who considered this ability ineffective, the skill merely stated, "It is an egg. This ability is genuinely dreadful." However, this effort resulted in the ability finally ascending to level 2, identifying the object as a threshold dragon AA. Though no more functional, she remained unable to utilize it, prompting her to temporarily put it away. Amidst her idle moment, she observed a loud-sounding universal ambassador the normal. Bearing torches, the humans reappeared, intent on burning her alive, causing Kumoko to flee, though she pursued her with both paws. Seeking refuge to recuperate, Kumoko broke down in tears. Her solo recourse to keep running as her abode blazed. The scenario was an exact replica of her former life. University of Ashley. Despite a life of constant hardship, she resolved not to flee again, instead promising to grow more powerful. Vowing that no cherished possession would ever be stripped from her again, she initiated a new evolution. Over several weeks, she engaged in combat with frogs and lizards. Yet, every confrontation highlighted as the most vulnerable in it in the world, linear that to the well-being. With the intention of employing a fresh approach, she began to discourage Weber from afar when fighting creatures to sidestepping close quarters combat. Though this strategy was quite timid, Kumoko disregarded it, understanding that survival was her sole imperative. During her exploration, a horrifying sound issued from the labyrinth as abyssal reaches, followed by hundreds of creatures rushing in her path. Despite her complete exhaustion, she miraculously eluded capture, then contemplating numerous approaches to battle her foe. A strange noise in her vicinity led her to employ her appraisal ability, which unveiled a colossal snake. The massive snake almost pinned her to the ground, and wherever she fled, it seemed poised to crush her. Her only viable course of action was escape, but Kumoko had made a solemn vow against ever fleeing again. Determined to defeat it, she resolved to use all her capabilities, dodging attacks with her webbing in rapid. Despite her efforts, a single lash from the serpent's tail nearly extinguished her entire health bar. In the final moments before succumbing, Kumoko hurled herself at the creature's neck, aiming to beat it until its demise. The serpent reacted by violently striking its head against the earth multiple times, attempting to crush Kumoko simultaneously. Yet, its attempts were largely unsuccessful as she resisted fiercely, and before her vitality reached its end, with a final push, she embedded her fangs deeper, finally overcoming the enormous snaky and then shrieked, utterly spent. She triumphed, and her experience points once again overflowed, elevating her to level 10 as her skin began to shed and renew. Moreover, 12 novel skills were finally made accessible. She was also given two distinct paths for evolution from her current state as an inferior small spider. Her options were to transform into an inferior monster or a small monster, though she was unaware of the precise implications of either term. She speculated that the inferior choice would result in a larger physical, while the small option would convert her into a more developed species. Desiring to retain her compact form, she opted for the small evolution, subsequently falling unconscious. Waking after many hours of sleep, Kumoko sensed no change whatsoever in her body. Furthermore, she found herself back at level 1, with all her energy completely drained. Things had indeed gone awry. Immediately following, she started to consume the enormous serpent she had conquered, and due to this latest evolution, she now required substantially more sustenance than previously, and her stamina recovery was sluggish. However, she had also obtained several novel skills. For instance, threat control, which empowered her to function as the authentic spider of the area. She also gained a detection skill that exposed foes before they could discover her. But her first attempt at using it, her man nearly burst from the preposterous quantity of monsters in her immediate vicinity, strongly resembling a spider sense. With increased reliance on her threat control to subdue her foe, she succeeded in defeating 10 creatures in her evolved form, eventually reaching level 2. Her appraisal skill had already advanced to level 9. And it was there that she comprehended that in this realm, given that level 10 was probably the ceiling for a legendary, since that should her powerful immediately, it proved to be remarkably potent. By directing his power inward, she was able to view all her own statistics. She learned that her agility was almost 10 times superior to a youth her stat. The moment she finished, she perceived a cluster of humans. A group was nearing from her rear, prompting her to run frantically for survival. But they showed no signs of relenting. The grotto was laden with monster satrape. Intently, she observed three azure entities impeding her progress. She succeeded in escaping the slim margin, convinced that they would hold back the humans for a while, yet before she could fully comprehend, Kumoko stumbled and plummeted into the chasm as profound depths, hurtling towards her potential doom. She endeavored to employ her brains to lessen the collision, but was instead hurled against the cavern wall. Nevertheless, her rate of descent had diminished. Suddenly, three colossal beasts started to chase her, leaving Kumoko with little chance of landing without being crushed. Without warning, a boss battle theme, akin to those in Dark Souls, began to play, and she spotted three gigantic snakes. The serpents initiated a conflict with the beasts, prompting her to try and escape on notation. However, Araba, the powerful earth dragon, emerged. Not one of the altered beasties could even graze him, and with a solitary attack, he utterly destroyed them. Behold, the ultimative, Kumoko made another attempt to flee, but Araba Esther penetrated her very being. Just as she resigned herself to her last moments, Araba simply spun around and vanished, leaving behind only the immense indentation. Recognizing the immense power he wielded, Kumoko realized that their next encounter would spell her doom. Her only recourse was to depend on her invisibility, prompting her to resume her flight. For many hours, she traversed the desolate road, observing only monstrously powerful creatures consuming one another as she remained conscious to stay alive. They turned into nights without a rest, and her hunger maternal depletion until, at last, she stumbled upon a cluster of exceptionally frail snails. Puzzled why they remained untouched, She chose to consume one, and with just a single BT, the inevitable occurred. Her health points vanished, and Kumoko pressured. Thank you for watching this video up to this point. Farewell. Just kidding, the video is over. She miraculously managed to draw her spirit back into her physical form, by the narrowest of margins, grasping the terrifying proximity of genuine death within the unlit depths of Dunshafer. She had lost a sense of how long she had been adrift in that place, yet she once more came across those amphibian-like beings. Twist marked the initial palatable food source she discovered in the lower levels. Effortlessly overcoming them, she acquired the Poison Master title, which granted her the ability to wield poison magic. However, her sole focus was on consuming every last morsel of den. Upon completion, she resolved to examine her recently gained magical ability and retest it. This time, a skill interface genuinely manifested. She could utilize it, but the substantial MP expenditure led her to deem the magic virtually ineffective, believing it to be even more futile than her past existence, where she merely observed the grass beside her, forever out of reach. Yet, amidst the current turmoil, there was no returning to her former self. The instant her reverie concluded, she spotted a colossal ape drawing near and attempted to evade it. Nevertheless, the whole troop emerged, charging and destroying everything. She tried to slip by undetected. Yet, as she told an unfamiliar monkey materialization, they crashing her on the space. Generally avoided by vessel. She then leaped, attempting to ensnare the BSS limbed with her web. When the monkey seized it, she was violently flung through the air. Kumoko managed to sever her own web, freeing herself and causing the monkey to spin. And becomes thoroughly ensnared. She then plunged her fangs deep into the nappa of the creature's neck. The monster emitted a savage shriek before collapsing lifeless. With the accumulated experience points, Kumoko finally attained level 4. Utterly drained, she retreated, seeking a place to rest for the first time in weeks. However, an abrupt sound reverberated throughout the vicinity, serving as an alert to others of its kin. Soon, a multitude of monkeys started congregating at the spot where Kumoko sought repose. The unfortunate creature couldn't even a moment space as they all began ascending towards her. Consequently, she attempted to claim Evan Hagen, the monkeys, though commenced hurling rockets toward her escape. With no alternative, she understood that a confrontation was inevitable. Kumoko started waving webs to intercept the incoming stones. Before they could strike her, she pondered what she might drop on them to ensure her survival. Them, recalling her potion synthesis ability, she promptly started unleashing poison spells upon her adversaries. Yet, her MP depleted far more rapidly than she could eliminate the creatures. To buy herself some extra time, she began ensnaring them against the walls with her webbing. Despite this, their numbers continued to swell, and Kumoko understood this conflict would only case. Once every single one of them was eradicated, given though each monster surpassed her in raw power. Fueled by this newfound resolve, Kumoko was determined to vanquish them. One of the monkeys seized her arm and ripped it away. Three more leaped at her while she was incapacitated, but in the nick of time, Kumoko leveled out. As the trio delivered their lethal strike, she had already sprung from the wall, leaving only her discarded exoskeleton to deceive them. Nevertheless, they persisted in their pursuit. One managed to grasp her leg, but Kumoko deployed a snare, trapping them all simultaneously. After she began dispatching the others, two attempted to outflank her. However, she utilized her whip to bend the divergent bridge like column and toppled it. The falling structure crushed the monkeys beneath, all according to her strategy. The entire cavern walls then crumbled over the surviving group, and her level swiftly climbed to 7. Yen. The onslaught was far from finished. Three of the remaining creatures were evolved variants of that species, Kumoko attempted to employ the same tactic. However, Wei hurled an enormous boulder at her. She reverted to shooting for the wall slightly diminishing the Lemmicore. This way, she would only have to confront the three evolved Onas, but one of them darted to the ram and initiated a high velocity leap. As the gap rapidly narrowed, Kumoko pelted him with stones and tried to ensnare him to fling him aside. But the monkey, proving incredibly nimble, evaded her, so she resorted to her poison magic, forcing him to ingest the anchor, viscous concoction she conjured. The second monkey was already airborne, lunging at her, so Kumoko swiftly cast her net over it, and compelled it to consume her poison as one. With only one level, she scanned the entire vicinity, but the final adversary was directly behind her. It succeeded in tearing off half of her body with a single bite. Her HP plunged to zero, and her sight started to dim. Yet, before succumbing, Kumoko lunged, injecting her poison spark into the monster as mouth, eradicating it even as she collapsed. Prepared to embrace her demise, the accumulated experience propelled her to level 9, and as you undoubtedly recall, upon evolution, her physical form undergoes a full regeneration, which is precisely what occurred. With the conflict concluded, she chose to consume the nearby monkeys. The moment she took her initial mouthful, the hair swelled up as it was the most exquisite flavor she had encountered in this realm, tasting exactly like fish. Within moments, she consumed it and, following the defeat of the final monkey, Kumoko gained the clairvoyance ability. However, she considered it rather ineffective next to her existing perception. Reasoning Satanya thought originating beyond her immediate view would leave her vulnerable. Just then, Andiel materialized, a bring was stats nerd for digit figure across the board. Yet, its movements were remarkably peculiar, almost as if Kumoko possessed a slight foresight into what was to come. Shinjon realized this was the true essence of clairvoyance. Now, by anticipating every action the creature made, evading its attacks became significantly simpler. Subsequently, the Yell deployed an area of effect skill to prevent Kumoko from further evasion. She initially believed the creature as a soul had depleted all her MP, but only half was expended. At that point, Kumoko resumed her evasive maneuvers, until the LSMP was finally exhausted. During this engagement, her proficiency skills underwent even greater evolution. As history, when the Yell launched a horizontal attack, her recently enhanced clairvoyance enabled her to evade with increased swiftness. Nevertheless, assaults descending from above proved impossible for her to avoid promptly. On the verge of being incinerated, Kumoko activated energy confirmation, beginning to navigate the labyrinth as pillars. Like an arachnid Tarzan, she expanded all her endurance, and her shield traits grew significantly more resilient. Ban also became temporarily immune to fairy, yet the girl unleashed an even more potent burst, ultimately incinerating her thread. Despite this, the spider persisted, concealing herself behind rocks and averting the gravest danger. Once she regained her composure, she found the creature as sudden absence perplexing, until her clairvoyance pinpointed its subsequent assault, which she narrowly evaded. With the yell now grounded, the spider started sidestepping all its tricks, leveraging her incredible velocity, until she eventually discovered an opportunity to inject her venom directly into the creature's mouth, felling it instantaneously. Her venom proved extraordinarily potent, completely obliterating the creature's remains. She anticipated, however, that at the very least, she would gain a level after vanquishing such a formidable foe. Nevertheless, the Eel employed a skill known as Life Exchange. To restore its HP, it had obtained this capability during the skirmish. Witnessing this development, the spider resolved to conclude the encounter with utmost haste. She utilized her shield to restrain it, then commenced drenching the creature in venom. This was her final gambit, and she ultimately collapsed to the ground, with virtually no AP remaining. Immediately, the system elevated her level from 7 to 10, and her body once more embarked on a new transformation phase. All her primary statistics surged dramatically, and she had met the prerequisites for evolution. She then settled down. None pondered whether to evolve at that precise moment. Lacking a secure refuge, she would be utterly exposed. Consequently, she opted to review her choices. Should she evolve into a particular class was designation escapes me. She would acquire the title Herald of Misfortune, boasting immense combat prowess. What an impressive title, indeed. Furthermore, she would have to concern herself with an interest in physical dimensions, making this option ideal. Prior to commencing this transformation, she resolved to utilize the ill as remains a sanctuary for her hibernation, as its shells would provide super protection. Thus, she maneuvered the carcass in a circular pattern to construct what could only be termed a church dwelling. There, their evolution commenced. Several hours later, the spider emerged with a fully altered body, no adorned with spikes, and started burrowing into the ill's form. With her newly acquired skills, her status indicated she now commanded 30 additional ability, and her talents effortlessly shredded sustenance, enabling her to devour the second most delectable meal of her existence in an instant. She had already consumed everything, and even questioned if the meal was so exquisite that she had momentarily lost consciousness. Instead of dwelling on it, she reverted to scrutinizing which capabilities to acquire. Among these was perseverance, now which permitted her to expand Emperor Tanhape before depletion, deeming this utterly overpowered. She activated the ability, using all her available points. Nevertheless, her taboo level simultaneously increased by 2, granting her the Harris nullification ability, Manuel. Elsewhere, Hugo was seen confronting Sen. Seeking to comprehend why Sen had amassed such a significant number of skill points up to that point. The inferno enveloping his blood nearly scorched Sen as he deflected the attacks. Hugo ultimately proclaimed that someday, he would ascend to kingship, and thus, he must eradicate anyone who obstructs his path. The assassin she had employed would shortly dispatch the other reincarnated individuals in the vicinity and unleash the monster to incrimination. However, Hugo asserted he would fake being the sole hero who vanquished the beast, thereby avenging his comrades, and his renown would instantly soar. He dismissed Sen's capabilities as pitifully feeble and pressed forward, evading every assault. But a single one of Sen's strikes inflicted harm upon him. Hugo transformed him into a tree, and the inferno of his sword intensified further. Confident of triumph, he beat fiery, yet, at the final instant, a vortex hurled him a considerable distance. Then, the teacher materialized, stating he had overstepped his bounds, unclarified. Perhaps she had already handled all his subordinates, including the creature. As she drew near, Hugo attempted to assault her. However, she used a powerful wind current to bring him to his knees. He landed on the ground, utterly shamed, and the instructor subsequently sought Regan authority. Hugo was compelled to agree without delay, resulting in a drastic drop in all his statistics and the complete vanishing of his skills. The solar remnant was an exceptionally peculiar mathematical equation, so making it confident my friend Renato would recognize. Concurrently, the spider had elevated all her proficiencies, transforming her improved Sege into telescopic vision. A designation she found quite absurd. Yet, upon testing it, she perceived as if she commanded multiple visual perspectives concurrently, thanks to her auxiliary brain. This development rendered her even more formidable, and as days of practice elapsed, her physical form attained level 3. With her life-sustaining capability progressing into longevity, the spider inquired of her body as consciousness as she showed merged cursed A with telescopic second, enabling her to trigger its effects from afar. Furthermore, Her detection skill ultimately achieved level 10. However, similar to her appraisal skill, neither of these abilities advanced further, leading the spider to considerable frustration. She yearned for some form of recompense, perhaps a superpower or similar boon. The moment this thought crossed her mind, the disruptive static noise reappeared, and an alert tone permeated her consciousness. This system then made its presence known. It announced that Administrator Miss D had acknowledged her played and transformed all her capabilities into the wisdom category. The spider now bore the designation ruler of wisdom, and her taboo skill ascended to level 8, a must emphasize this particular spider. Though is essentially their Reinhardt equivalent of this real. I think she deserved. She retrieved a boon for you. She proceeded to examine her newly acquired powers, and she understood that this situation was far from ordinary. Up until this point, she had been gaining proficiencies as though participating in a video game. However, this was decidedly not much of a game. Upon hearing the designation Administrator D, she grasped the implication that an individual had crafted a unique ability specifically for her, solely due to her complaint. If this indeed held true, then a form of divine entity governed that world, and one of these administrators regarded her very existence as a mere plaything. This prompted her to ponder if she could genuinely consider herself alive. Concurrently, Fugo was consumed by his escalating fury, following the loss of all his capabilities, until a feminine voice extended assistance. She stated that as both of them were reincarnated beings, she would be amenable to offering him aid. Fugo didn't even take the trouble to ascertain her identity. He simply consented at once, provided he should accept his vengeance. In a different corner of the world, the spider was experiencing a personal rock concert. She resolved to live intensely and perish prematurely, proclaiming she would ignite her spirit the moment she began to play with fire. The spider understood that this gangster lifestyle was unsuitable for her and pleaded for a toxin that would extinguish the internal conflagration. Her health points ultimately plummeted to 0, prompting her perseverance ability to activate, consuming all her magic points to sustain her existence. The body as consciousness tuned that such a way of life was not meant for her, suggesting it was best left to actual rock enthusiasts regardless. The spider entirely abandoned at a further movement. Nevertheless, she endeavored to remain happyful while examining her newly acquired wisdom type ability. And naturally, all the other incredibly potent techniques she had managed to unlock. To ascertain the extent of her newfound power, she commenced by unscaling the Gate of Hell, attempting to conjure magical sigils. Yet, she struggled to maintain their stability. Gradually, everything started to disintegrate, culminating in an explosion directly in front of her. She understood that managing magic amidst combat would prove exceedingly intricate, but her physical consciousness attempted to dissuade her from employing it, arguing that it would be an overwhelming amount of data for her new wisdom ability to process, essentially portraying her as the protagonist from Fight Club, exhibiting complete schizophrenia. The two entities began to contend for the magic hat until this system declared that mastery had been attained. The hat effortlessly slipped from her grasp, and as it descended, a different spider seized it. Starting she would take charge of all magical aspects, the parallel mains ability had advanced to level 3, signifying the simultaneous operation of 3 spider brains, operating concurrently. Consequently, she is no longer akin to the character from Fight Club, but rather the individual from Split. As she traversed, the spider became aware that his powers were likely exacerbating some form of dissociative identity disorder, and its tricks method she only grasped this fact at this moment. However, before she could ponder it extensively, an eruption of molten rock cascaded down the gorge. She now discovered herself situated in a secluded section of the Meadow Stratum, encircled by numerous cadavers. She continuously pondered What events may have transpired here? And as she descended to examine the lapang, an enormous dragon materialized from within it. Its statistics surpassed what the display itself was capable of showing yet. At least 50% of its health point had already been depleted. The dragon even attempted to flatten the spider into the earth. However, she evaded at the final instant, as it unleashed a torrent of fireball. She eluded them using sheer velocity, and despite it possessing double her strength, she was resolved to confront it directly, using the collective power of her free intellect. To unleash all her evil eyes, she conjured a magical sigil for an assault, but the dragon endeavored to incapacitate her. With its very exhalation, while airborne, the spider attempted to unleash all her incantation upon the beast. However, scarcely any of them inflicted substantial harm. Upon landing, the dragon tail grazed one of her limbs, and that single impact was nearly sufficient to deplete all her health points. The spider recognized that even with all her evasive maneuvers, accelerated thought processes, and precognitive psyche, she was barely clinging to survival. Not even her evil eyes were yielding an impact. Yep, as she concluded, yep, apparent that the possibility of fulfillment exists. As she retracted from the continuous assault test, seeking a method to negate the dragon's incredible velocity, its immunity to poison grew stronger. The dragon readied a fury blast as the fight progressed, but the spider spotted a chance and coated herself using her poison synthesis ability. To shield herself from the flames, the dragon unleashed a fresh volley of fireballs, forcing the spider to sever her own silk strand. She narrowly avoided danger, only to plummet directly into the dragon's mouth, which then reared out to consume her. Despite being almost paralyzed and on the brink of death, this entire situation was a calculated part of her strategy. Just as Alzheimer's lost, she engaged her jagged acceleration skill, extending the perception of time. With the path now clear of flames, she braced herself, then unleashed her ultra mega giga spider poison blast, urging her magical consciousness to unleash even deadlier venomous powers, causing her parallel main skill to advance to level 4. A new cerebral organ manifested, and the spider discarded her toxic orb at the very last second. However, the dragon instantly retaliated with its very breath, incinerating her threats even without a direct hit, causing its heels to plummet by half once more. Yet, it managed to recuperate and confront the spider directly. After unleashing its scorching breath trying at him, the dragon suddenly lost all trace of its foe. High above, an enormous orb of venom began to materialize, which the spider hurled directly at the dragon as she descended, simultaneously striking with her stun attack skill. The dragon's massive form started to sink, and when she attempted another assault, she perceived it was already at death's door. The backlash from her own power ripped off one of the spider's limbs, and the dragon ultimately submerged. This entire sequence was part of her grand saga. At the very last moment, she employed her phantom skill to conjure a deceptive image. This led the dragon to believe she had been obliterated with the assault, when in reality, she was expertly concealed on the overhead surface. Poised to launch her hidden attack, the spider had fought to stand resolute ever since the incident where the shell phone was incinerated. Thus, she was determined to see it through, regardless of the sacrifice. The molten rock illuminated her visage, and the triumphant melody faded away. The spider understood that the conflict was far from concluded. She had endured thus far poorly through her immense power and unyielding resilience. However, the dragon too had expended nearly all its mana. With her final reserves of energy, the spider pledged to deploy her second clandestine armament. She implored for the emergence of her second magical brain, which finally revealed itself from concealment. And all three remains ready to unleash their arcane power. The spider initiated the incantation for her abyssal sorcery, conjuring a gateway to hell directly from the earth, and its portal swung open. It siphoned nearly all the molten lava from the combat zone. Sailing shot once almost nothing remained. The spider herself was astonished by her own formidable capability, yet the dragon, inexplicably, remained alive, even with its statistics virtually depleted. The subsequent assault would determine the survivor, compelling the spider to exert her utmost effort in a flash. She lunged at the dragon. She ensnared it with her silk strand, immobilizing its movements, and then began to rapidly gain levels, reaching level 19, which in turn unlocked the prestigious title of Dragon Slayer. Before she could revel in this achievement, she became aware that the molten rocket was beginning to surge back in her direction, prompting her to attempt dragging the dragon away for consumption. But then something entirely influential accurate. An enigmatic individual learned of the dragon as the mess and sought to understand the circumstances. He attempted to invoke Administrator Archie and resolved to investigate the matter himself. Meanwhile, the spider gained the heavy evil eye skill. This allowed her to decelerate her adversaries, pulverize them with her accursed jazzy, and immobilize them using her paralysis eye. Possessing all this power, this new combination of three fiendish eyes made her feel increasingly grotesque and formidable. Despite this formidable capability, the dragon excellence proved too impenetrable, and an odd sound permeated her consciousness. Time itself seemed to decelerate as she engagged her jagged acceleration, bracing for an imminent confrontation. A gateway materialized before her, from which emerged a demon-like ma, whose statistics she was unable to assess. Oddly, she sensed no animosity from him. The man attempted to communicate, but his speech was utterly unintelligible. The knife spider attempted to respond with gestures, so the man merely tossed a smartphone onto the ground. An admin detained introduced herself via the gadget. The man picked up the device, and the administrator requested the spider to hold on briefly. They changed conversation in a language so bizarre. It appeared to have been concocted by an 8-year-old childbirth during a matation. Upon concluding their discussion, the man re-entered the portal and vanished. The administrator then properly introduced herself, clarifying that her companion would no longer interfere with the spider. The spider was utterly bewildered, unable to comprehend the identity of this eccentric woman who had materialized unexpectedly. Admin clarified that she possessed the ability to access all of the spider as targets, so she typically refrained from doing so. This was because she favored observing events from afar. The spider inquired why her life was being monitored. The administrator responded that this whole adventure was more captivating than an online series. The admin further elaborated that she was the most wicked deity of that realm and had been thoroughly entertained by the spider as tribulations struggled. Nevertheless, she thought that if the spider continued her progress, she would eventually retrieve all the answers she desired. Subsequently, the phone vanished. Within the fortress of the Demon Lord, the Supreme Leader convened with the other commanders for a meeting, yet little of it appeared coherent. While some debated skirmishes, weaponry, and tactics, none of it seemed relevant given the escalating disorder across the globe. A particular individual defeated the Demon Lord as directive and advanced directly towards conflict. However, as another prepared to quell his defiance, the Demon Lord manipulated both of them using her unseen filaments. She commanded them to be seated, threatening total annihilation of their physical forms, and then declared that conflict was about to erupt. Once Everione had departed, the enigmatic, pale-skinned girl lingered in the Demon Lord's chamber, proclaiming that the opportune moment had arrived for the hero's departure from this realm. Simultaneously, 7,000 miles distant, Sean was unexpectedly bestowed with the title of hero. The surroundings around him started to fade away. The sole condition for someone to inherit this title was the demise of the reigning hero, his brother Julius. Had pressured, the crushing realization of this loss utterly devastated him, prompting a desperate scream. Concurrently, the spider continued to ponder the true identity of the, concluding that the was likely also of Japanese origin, given her flawless Japanese. However, rather than dwelling on these musings, the spider endeavored to concentrate on thoroughly purging the megastratum. She eventually discovered the route to the upper stratum, and subsequently initiated her advance against the human forces. The conflict had already intensified significantly, with human forces suffering a loss of 1/10 of their personnel. A general. A first congratulations to the commander for their triumphs, but the commander countered by emphasizing the inherent limitations of human strength. He inquired whether the other individual was familiar with the nightmare of the labyrinth incident that occurred 50 years prior. His expedition team had delved into the labyrinth as lower levels. All indigenous monsters were in full retreat, leading many adventurers to suspect that an Esran spider was responsible for the widespread pandemonium. During their reconnaissance, they encountered webs obstructing their progress. He then employed his flames to incinerate these obstructions, and as they proceeded, they observed the preposterous structure that had been constructed surrounding them. They questioned if a mere spider could genuinely be capable of erecting anything so intricate. Perhaps it had deserted the location. But then it materialized, observing them from above, and the leader was gripped by an overwhelming, paralyzing terror. Without initiating an assault, the spider activated a multitude of abilities and swiftly moved to obstruct their escape route. With a single, swift glance, it assessed the leader. He in turn appraised the creature, discovering it was an Azrael, level 19 the identical classification as the spider itself. Among its myriad capabilities was Shade of Occultism, recognized as one of the most formidable power in existence. The leader comprehended that he was confronting an entity entirely transcending human comprehension and skill. Shortly thereafter, his appraisal ability was nullified. He attempted to implore his team to withdraw, but the spider's eyes began to glow. All the soldiers then collapsed. The man perceived that this creature harbored an unparalleled wisdom, and his subordinate subsequently tackled him to the ground. In an effort to revive him, the young man then invoked his legendary beast, dispatching them to engage the spider. Yet, not one of them succeeded in inflicting even a minor injury. The spider, as malevolent as reactivated, effortlessly crushing all the summoned creatures against the earth. The young man as aquatic creature disintegrated into its constituent liquid, and his stone turtle became utterly lifeless. In an inexplicable sequence, every soldier succumbed, leaving only the two leaders standing within the teleportation circle. The spider initiated an assault against them, but the younger soldier bravely intercepted the attack, and with his final surge of strength, he activated the teleportation spell. It was at that moment that the man genuinely grasped the inherent frailty of humanity, yet he also harbored a peculiar sensation that, somehow, their paths would cross once more. Amidst the monstrous entities emerging in the conflict, the soldiers succeeded in identifying a queen, bearing a highly unusual designation which Satu shall not attempt to articulate here, prompting the demon lord to instantly open her eyes. Concurrently, the spider leaped and shrieked in fury, as her brief absence of mere seconds had allowed her dwelling to be invaded and incinerated yet again. All she desired was a straightforward apology, but they resumed their assault, thus rendering all her subsequent actions justifiable self-defense. It is revealed her that, in actuality, that specific spider was indeed the protagonist spider herself, at least prior to their departure. She had successfully marked each one of them. Nevertheless, she determined that her immediate priority was to locate the labyrinth as exit. Following the recent engagement, the system elevated Kumo to level 20, thereby granting her the capacity to evolve into an alternative class. She was poised to fundamentally transform into an entity referred to as the proper form of Dhyata. Kumo promptly initiated this metamorphosis. Her taboo level subsequently ascended to 10, prompting this system to commence the installation of restricted knowledge. The term repent continuously flickered across the interface as the taboo menu simultaneously downloaded the authentic history of the world into her consciousness. Upon completion of the installation, Kumo found herself barely able to move, and the evolutionary process left her utterly disoriented. She now possessed comprehensive knowledge of all events that had transpired in this world since its inception, and the singular conclusion she could draw was that, should the current trajectory remain unaltered, this world faced complete annihilation, and the responsibility then rested upon her to alter the fate of her own existence. However, for the immediate future, her sole true desire was to attain immense power. The exclusive method for her advancement within this environment was through vanquishing adversaries, thus making the formidable Araba her subsequent objective. Upon her return to the lower stratum, she observed a colossal serpent significantly beyond her current power level and promptly withdrew. Araba's confrontation would need to be postponed. However, the ground began to tremble, and utilizing her telescopic vision, Kumo witnessed the serpent engaging in battle against Araba. Employing its gravity-based magic, the serpent attempted to force Araba into the earth, and then impale him with its venom. Yet, Araba retaliated with stone projectiles, inflicted a death bait on the serpent, and commenced devouring it while it was still alive. Despite the gruesome nature of the acts, Kumo found herself captivated. It was an undeniable demonstration of power from an earth dragon. Immediately after concluding its meal, Araba unleashed a colossal surge of energy directly towards Kumo, and she instantly grasped her continued insignificance in his presence resolutely. She resumed the relentless pursuit of experience points, and utilizing her demonic eye of annihilation, she obliterated monsters with devastating energy bursts. However, the ability as backlashes scorched her own eyes, mirroring hot as attack due to its extreme peril. She resolved to reserve that power solely for emergencies, restoring her vision with healing magic before venturing forth to confront new adversaries. Two earth dragons materialized before her, but Kumo evaded them using teleportation to mark their positions, intending to engage them individually. But first, she needed to prepare the battleground for her impending clash with Araba. The sky above was already teeming with vespoids, obstructing any real movement, and after witnessing Araba's swift defeat of the serpent, it became starkly clear that remaining on the ground would result in immediate demise. Her only viable path of victory lay in first eradicating the vespoids. Yes, they relentlessly assailed Kumo, and surprisingly, her detection ability failed to register them, despite their low-level status. They beat and stung without pause. With eyes blazing in fury, Kumo sprang forward, wielding her silken rays like a whip, unleashing area of effect magic to eliminate each one. Her magical proficiency continuously ascended as she unleashed her full array of abilities, systematically whipping out every vespoid present. This was one of the formidable powers encompassed within her height of occultism ability. Waiter, when combined with heretical magic, allowed her to inflict immense damage upon Arabe. The vespoids continued to fall from the sky, until one of their generally emerged, immediately charging at Kumo and ending her life with a single, decisive strike. But it was merely an illusion. As hundreds of soldiers began to advance against her, Kumo finally pinpointed their hive. She instantly began firing at the wasp, causing all the enemies to plummet, and the nest ultimately collapsed, granting her another level advancement, which is only the final preparations remained before the decisive confrontation with Araba. She then invested all her accumulated skill points into slaughter, another deadly sin. Araba's position was at last drawing near, and although his attributes were 4 times greater than Kumo's, she was determined to make him regret the opportunity he had given her to escape. Kumo launched herself toward him, unleashing projectiles Yet non-frontier mark, she then commented a strategic retreat, executing powerful leaps, attempting to draw him into an airborne engagement. However, Araba possessed sufficient speed to match her pace, prompting her to ready a comprehensive magical assault, saturating the heavens with mystical sigil that then unleashed torrents of enchanted projectile upon the dragon. A few of these even connected, but the creature as healthy, instantly recovered from an injury sustained, resulting in a prolonged deadlock in the conflict. Araba assumed a stance and unleashed his very draconic breath utubo kaslitrate, ligature, critical storm I can rotate directly into his open mouth. The impact was severe, yet even as he stumbled, he still nearly annihilated her. And Araba regained his footing, poised to cast a spell. Kumo attempted to retaliate with her own illusion, but as she was temporarily sightless due to the magic, Araba lunged, and she barely evaded his bat. Her silken thread served as her sole means of support, facilitating her evasion of the assaults. Yet even this became snares, expertly crafted by Araba using advanced earth magic. Her only recourse was to persist in survival, particularly as none of her specialized magical eyes seemed to impact him. Araba continuously unleashed his very breath and powerful charges at Kumo, who narrowly evaded his incessant onslaught. Despite Araba being directly before her, he held his ground, having discerned that he was ensnared within her lethal web, capitalizing on the separation. Kumo initiated her poison synthesis technique against him. Nevertheless, Araba deftly avoided the massive cascade of venom that deluged the area. Adhering to the Cavern One, Kumo unleashed a deluge of toxic fluid, effectively immobilizing Araba for a brief period. Yet, he succeeded in obliterating her intricate webs with a powerful draconic breath. Kumo, in response, launched her luminous white spheres toward him. However, Araba evaded every single one, utterly breaching her defensive measures. Subsequently, the dragon mouth gaped open, poised to consume her. Yet, this was precisely Kumo's stratagem. The act of beating caused Araba to become further ensnared, deeper within the silken threads. As he struggled to break free, Kumo enveloped him in her fury and began to ready one of her most potent incantations. The Phantom Pain ability commenced its assault, tearing at Araba's mental fortitude. Concurrently as she amassed all her magical energies to inflict even greater harm. Precisely when she believed she had gained the upper hand, a brilliant golden blow obliterated her entire web, and Araba surged towards her with astonishing velocity. He had engaged every conceivable form of resistance, effectively neutralizing her magical attacks. There was no method for her sorcery to penetrate his defenses. His substantial 40,000 skill point had been entirely expended for one singular objective, to vanquish Kumo. A fiery inferno began to consume the entire cavern, resembling a catastrophic natural event. Araba now possessed an unobstructed route directly to Kumo. Upon his charge, Kumo comprehended that his innate self-regeneration had already mended all the injuries he had sustained. He then disappeared from her line of sight, nearly crushing her. Upon his sudden reappearance, with no alternative but to continue ascending, Kumo sprinted with the utmost speed she could master, and her jolted acceleration ability advanced, transforming into super jolted acceleration. Concurrently, her prediction skill evolved into vision of the future. Despite all this advancement, the conflict appeared interminable. Furthermore, her SP reserves were nearly exhausted, with her back pressed forcefully against the cavern's roof. With no further escape routes, Araba steadily closed the distance, causing Kumo to plunge downwards into the very abyss directly beneath her. While still plummeting, she conjured a healing orb to replenish a fraction of her vitality and then plunged directly into the inferno pit. Araba persistently attempted to stretch her, and when she was violently flung against the one, her health points nearly entirely dissipated. She lacked any opportunity to mend her wound, and her sole potential escape path was already blocked. A jagged stone column impaled her body. Kumo found herself immobilized as Araba drew near. Having exhausted all other voices, she activated the Eye of Extermination. But this came at the cost of her vision, a sacrifice that merely bought a fleeting moment before her sole remaining recourse became clear. Her only option was to relinquish her web-spinning powers to preserve her life as the cavern S-bus hurtled towards her with alarming speed. Kumo's aspirations faced imminent and complete annihilation, especially with Araba, now in a frenzied state, relentlessly driving her downwards from above. Nevertheless, she stubbornly clung to life, attempting another rush against Araba and striving to reclaim the elevated ground. However, Araba sprang, successfully capturing her in his jaws just as her final reserves of magic power were on the verge of depletion. Kumo then deployed her staff as power, fracturing his jawbone while losing two of her own limbs in the exchange, barely managing to land. Yet, Araba had already readied his subsequent assault. Her legs could no longer bear her weight, and Kumo started tossing herself to her impending doom. She harbored no regrets, but her past experiences forbade her from yielding, even though she was utterly devoid of strength. Kumo collapsed, convinced that her formidable power had secured her survival. Her only remaining course of action was to unleash her sin of slot skill. Araba's chances of victory in that confrontation were now non-existent, particularly after she had siphoned all his physical endurance and converted it into magical energy. Diminishing his health points was never the primary aim. Diva that his inherent self-regeneration nullified any effort to deplete him entirely. Consequently, she deployed the Sin of Sloth to gradually drain his stamina point, the sole attribute incapable of self-renewal. This entire sequence was an integral part of her overarching strategy, and she now re-edit all her magical might for his destruction. The very creature she had once deemed insignificant, the one that had inflicted such trauma, was now destined to become her quarry. Nevertheless, in his concluding moments, Araba somehow managed to remain upright. His gaze utterly devoid of any of frustration. He commenced the erasure of all his abilities, retaining only 13 ribbons as his vital life points continued to plummet. His behavior incensed Kumo. How could he possibly embrace such a pitiful conclusion? After everything that had transpired, she had battled with every fiber of her being for survival, never yielding in a fight without extreme effort. She found his acceptance of mortality utterly incomprehensible. As she struggled desperately for her existence, Araba vanished in a sudden burst of light, and Kumo began to move forward. Her experience level had ascended to 29, and her physical form was entirely restored. She no longer experienced any discomfort or misery. The demon stand pondered while her subordinate had already been apprised of the tale recounting her triumph over an earth dragon. Within the labyrinth, Kumo was at last on the verge of reaching the eagles from that accursed projection, a place utterly devoid of anything positive. Nevertheless, she was alive, and thus harbored no remorse for forsaking everything within. From this moment forward, a fresh, prosperous spider existence awaited her. Consequently, she darted towards her promising future, where a colossal arachnid was already anticipating her arrival. Immediately ahead, upon emerging into the open, Kumo perceived immense walls encircling her entirely. However, as she cried out in exasperation, spears were launched in her direction, flinging her violently backward. After regaining her composure from the assault, she observed several soldiers standing before her, poised to terminate her existence. She then opted to initiate the offensive, triggering a series of explosions, which caused the surrounding walls to commence their collapse. Kumo began to spring away, and soon thereafter, she discerned a city on the horizon. Yet, upon pausing for a brief respite, she became acutely aware that she remained a monstrous spider, and that everyone was pursuing her relentlessly. Therefore, she just threw the scan to the ground and began scrutinizing the system interface, hoping to discover some skill that might offer her protection within the city in the future. Before her eyes, she noticed a skill designated Arakan, which promised to transform her into a humanoid shape. Eager to obtain this new capability, she hastened her movement. However, she ultimately stumbled and landed flat on her abdomen, utterly famished, having consumed nothing throughout the entire day. Suddenly, a throbbing sensation began in her head. She recognized it as her mother's insistent demand for her return to the subterranean caverns. For a fleeting moment, she contemplated compliance, but upon discovering the heresy annulment skill, she promptly nullified her mother's mental subjugation. Ever since her triumph over Araba, she was confident in her ability to confront any adversary single-handedly. Concurrently, in the distance, some soldiers were engaged in transporting debris, but upon sighting an advancing army of spiders heading their way, they fled in utter terror. Simultaneously, a system alert materialized before Kuma, indicating that the aforementioned army was indeed moving towards her location. She accessed her menu to scrutinize their statistics, learning that each individual was as formidable as Arabe, and their leader possessed extraordinary might. Bearing a peculiar designation, resolved to ngaji, Kumu moved towards them, aiming to draw them into a snare of her own design. Nevertheless, the leader severed her web, and the others proceeded to dismantle the remainder, causing a tree to topple directly onto her. Fortunately, Kumo launched herself skewer, evading additional falling trees. When several spiders became ensnared in her secondary trap, she unleashed a barrage of dark projectiles, obliterating the terrain in front of her. However, just as she began to revel in her perceived triumph, Hideous beings sprang forth from the dust, entirely unharmed. She launched webs to ensnare her, but Kumo evaded every single one, immediately comprehending that each of them exhibited profound mastery over web manipulation. She then understood that the impending conflict would prove exceptionally challenging. She continued to evade and flee with all her might, until a web ensnared her leg. Yet she successfully liberated herself bending the strand. She resumed her escape amidst a series of relentless assaults. As she ran, the leader attempted to consume her, but Kumo leapt to the apex of a tree. The spiders ascended into the air to pursue her, but she ensnared them with her webbing, effectively imprisoning them mid-flight. Despite their immense size and superior strength, they succumbed to a trap deficit from Kumo's human intellect. Subsequently, vaulting over the ladder, Kumo activated her teleportation magic, dispatching herself and all the other spiders directly into the volcano as they plummeted towards the molten lava. The arachnid swiftly conjured a platform, narrowly averting disaster and temporarily securing her safety as she attempted to subdue Kumo. Although the makeshift platform began to fracture, she swiftly sprang to an adjacent one, then unleashed a formidable barrage of dark projectiles. Directing her healing powers towards herself, her health bar rapidly replenished, and the platform supporting her proliferated. Despite his efforts to withstand the dark assaults, her continuous regeneration rendered him incapable of overcoming her. Upon this realization, she materialized a cluster of black spears, shattering the platform beneath him to plunge him into the molten lava. While his health diminished, she refused to let such a primeval be squandered. She retrieved his sword and commenced consuming him. This system promptly notified her that she had attained the maximum experience threshold, resulting in a 2-level advancement. As she was expelling content into a makeshift receptacle, she vanished, only to materialize before the surviving arachnids. Employing a teleportation incantation, she dispatched him out to the volcano, where Kumo began preparing a small spider barbecue. Intending to consume them herself, a pulsating signal simultaneously commenced flashing within Kumo's mind. It was her mother attempting to summon her yet again. Irritated, She resolved to devise a strategy and retreated into her arachnid sanctuary. Within, she instructed her duplicates to neutralize her mother, thereby ending the summoning attempts. The replicas decided their counterpart to pass through the gateway and directly assault their mother as consciousness. When the Sentient Magic Brain inquired about the nature of the offensive they should launch, Kumo confessed his reactions at Chadwick to Red Border and Jump and Papam Al-E, yang subsequently, they resisted Papal, and commenced consuming their matriarchs like the prophet progeny. Meanwhile, Kumo continued her journey contentedly. Now liberated from her mother as Madeline, she soon encountered a band of brigands assaulting wayfarers on the thoroughfare. She attempted to remain undetected, deliberating whether to escape or intervene. But upon observing an infant within the chariot, she acted without hesitation, ensnaring one bandit with a spear and extracting him, while simultaneously propelling herself forward on her silken thread. Three systematically dispatched their adversaries, impaling unattended during the skirmish. When the final bandit attempted to flee, she ensnared his leg, siphoning his shout, and magic pointed until he succumbed. With all the brigands neutralized, she longed to be acknowledged to present herself to the remaining survivors, but given her lack of acknowledged status, she opted to at least man one of the traveler with her restorative power. As another traveler caught sight of her, she started to depart, but a woman emerged, cradling the infant. When Kumo employed her appraisal skill, Kumo discovered that the baby was, in fact, a vampire. Understanding that his child had likely undergone reincarnation in a manner similar to her own, Kumo grew envious and began writhing on the ground before fleeing into the depths of the forest. Her internal alert system signaled that a contingent of elves intended to abduct the infant, so when she observed the chariot departing, a few moments later, Kumo understood that, ultimately, she was the fortunate one in this narrative. Concurrently, within the castle, Sean and Sue proceeded to their father as chambers to ascertain the reason for their summoning. Sue, without preamble, simply blasted a hole through the king's head. With Sean utterly stunned, she erupted into desperate screams, and as the knight swiftly entered, she falsely implicated Sean in the offense. When he attempted to apprehend him, Sean ngagged on of the knight in combat and repelled him. However, upon noticing his injury, Hugo at last unveiled his presence, declaring himself the mastermind behind the entire plot and asserting his brother's ambition to seize the throne. Sultan attempted to assassinate him. However, Sean utilized his appraisal skill and ascertained that she was under the influence of an enchantment spell. Hugo started to mock him with laughter, but Sean retaliated with a punch. When Hugo erected a magical barrier, Sophia obliterated it with her own sorcery, compelling Sean to evade the barrelin. When Sean attempted to use his appraisal on Sophia, he observed that her status information was inaccessible. Hugo subsequently lunged at him, but Oka repelled him with a gust of wind and then unleashed a second magical projectile. While Sophia remained motionless and disoriented, Oka, after retreating a short distance, seized Shun and unleashed a powerful current of air against the approaching knights. Shun was reluctant to escape, but the two young women adamantly urged him that the fortress was no longer secure. Huan Bu aciptakan an additional soldier. Their fat language. Upon using her slasher, they were met by a contingent of knights attempting to extort their order. Prolog and Vimyam dengan Arts Divinity, and the opposing forces pressed their attack. Utilizing the pervasive disorder as a diversion, the group successfully eluded the castle's defense. That evening, unsteadily within the forest, Sean proposed that they should neutralize Hugo, but Oka clarified that Sophia posed an even more significant danger, suggesting that perhaps the optimal course of action was to eliminate both individuals. At that precise moment, their adversaries encircled the group, and the assault commenced. Sean discovered Faye amidst the attacker and recognized that she, too, was under Hugo's influence. He attempted to evade belief in, but she unleashed a torrent of flames at him, which she successfully parried. When she endeavored to ignite the surroundings once more, Sean bravely dashed directly through the inferno, aiming his blade at her. Yet he lacked the resolve to take her life. As he attempted another strike, he managed to fell her, but she swiftly countered with a kick and directed her sword towards Sean. In that very moment, she started to recover her awareness, but fearing a relapse into unconsciousness, she indulged a magical slumber upon herself. Should not be the unfolding event, Sean attempted to hail her, but she remained entirely unresponsive. His anguished cry then emitted a luminous magical burst, which ultimately restored her to consciousness. Meanwhile, as Oka repelled the soldiers, Sophia appeared entirely impervious to the ghosts of Wen. Oka unleashed a significantly more potent attack, engaging in a direct confrontation before securing a tight grip on her adversary. Sean attempted to intervene and save her, but a soldier wounded his leg, and when he tried to heal himself, he discovered his restorative magic was depleted. Fortunately, Faye appeared from the sky, unleashing a devastating beam of light. This light obliterated the remaining foe, freeing Oka from Sophia's grasp. The group then rushed towards Sean. However, Sophia charged at them until fire repelled her with a colossal flame before soaring away. Swiftly returning, she allowed Sean to rescue another companion. Meanwhile, deep within the spider monster's immense form, Kumo's duplicates continued their assigned tasks. The primary consciousness questioned why the monster was they actively fighting them. The other means concluded that she might be too preoccupied managing her countless offspring. Even so, the magical intellect couldn't fathom why the monster had they dispatched more spiders to locate Kumo. Given their inherent connection, Kumo suspected her mother already knew she was an anomalous existence, and intended to eliminate her without delay. At that moment, the spider monster shrieked at her surviving children, before tearing open the hole in the ceiling. When Kumo's copies attempted to depart and warn her, they realized they were ensnared. By their own progenitor, who had already resolved to eradicate Kumo. Simultaneously, Kumo meandered through the woodland, pondering her next move and considering hunting a boar there before foraging for some fruit. As she mused, she indeed discovered a fruit. But the moment she took a bite, a colossal limb impaled the earth directly beneath her. Kumo understood her mother had emerged from the cavern with the intent to slay her. Upon analyzing her status, she found her mother was a level 89 Guian, possessing 50 Miss Araba strength. Recognizing the futility of such a confrontation, she began to flee, but her mother relentlessly pursued, obliterating every tree in her wake. Kumo attempted to comprehend how her mother had pinpointed her location, just as a torrent of purple flame surged towards her. She tried to use teleportation, but the creature continuously spurred fear. As she ascended, Kumo witnessed the widespread destruction left behind. Everywhere her mother traversed, she understood that capture meant certain annihilation. And after narrowly evading another assault, Kumo resumed her flight, evading fresh attackers. When she attempted to teleport once more, her mother tried to scare her, but Kumo managed to dodge, only to be struck immediately by a subsequent fairy blast. On the verge of being pulverized, she teleported back to the cave at the final moment. A narrow escape, however. As she recovered her breath, she noticed her legs were scorched. Attempting to conceal herself for regeneration, she was discovered by one of the spiders, which then tore apart her web, revealing thousands of spiders awaiting her. Kumo comprehended that her mother had anticipated her return to her former dwelling and had commanded her siblings to lie in wait. Instantly, streams of web were launched at Kumo, but she evaded them until a single spider seized him and injected venom. Kumo retaliated, Hurling a spear created by a magic circle and scaling the wall, she grasped that her sisters were truly intent on her demise. She examined her status, noting that perseverance was the sole ability sustaining her life as her siblings relentlessly attacked. Kumo fled using her own weapons, concluding that her only chance of victory lay within the Meda Stratum. However, they would not permit her to reach it. So, Kumo conjured a toxic mist, and leveraging the ensuing confusion, she escaped. Despite this, the spiders persisted in their pursuit and assault, moving significantly faster than she was. Kumo managed to create a brief opportunity, but just as she neared the Meda Stratum, a puppet materialized before her, and with a similar blow, severed her arm. The automaton lunged to attack, but she dodged, and upon closer inspection, she realized a spider was nestled within, manipulating the construction. This was one of her mother's clandestine armamentos. Trapped between the automatons and the arachnid horde, Kumo pondered her escape route. At that instant, multiple webs shot towards her. Kumo sprang back and activated her unique ability, unleashing black projectiles, but the puppet successfully intercepted everyone. Kumo then started depleting her MP, but as she attempted to heal herself, a spider charged at her, and she obliterated it with her black spears. Regrettably, she was unable to employ two abilities concurrently. Therefore, she generated a smoke screen to ask an escape. Nevertheless, the puppet materialized before her once more, and as the spiders launched even more weapons, she narrowly evaded them. Simultaneously, all the arachnids discarded their web in unison, but Kumo retaliated with a barrage of black projectiles as soon as she grasped at reaching the middle. Stratum was invisible. She attempted to level up, only to become ensnared in a web, and all the other arachnids impaled her flesh before petrifying her. Fortunately, she had deployed a phantom using her hellish magic, causing everyone to perceive only an illusion of her. Thus, Kumo commenced launching her black spears at them. As she attempted to approach stealthily, she became entangled in yet another web, realizing the puppets had laid a snare. While she struggled to free her ensnared leg, an adversary plummeted onto her, and as it began to crush her, Kumo annihilated it with her evil eye. However, its mass descended upon her once more, and this time she utterly obliterated it, using her annihilating evil eye. Leaping onto another spider, she commenced devouring it. Kumo's action sent the creature tumbling across the ground. The puppet then began to advance, intending to attack her, but Kumo, along with the spider, vanished. Repairing within the volcano, Kumo, satisfied with her successful strategy, extracted the molten arachnid from the lava. She pondered the puppet as absent from her evolutionary lineage, yet remained resolute in her goal to overcome her mother. Following a review of her current status, she opted for evolution. Once the transformation concluded, the system reported an enhancement across all her fundamental attributes. Not only had her statistics risen, but she was also informed of her newly acquired immortality ability. Alongside an increment in skill points, Kumo recognized her swift ascent to becoming the planet's most formidable creature. She had secured the ultimate advantage by being called possessed. If she was already formidable, this immortality skill now made her virtually unstoppable. With this, her demise became impossible. Envisioning an eternal existence, she grasped that she could confront her mother. She could face her mother without dread of annihilation, and this system further disclosed her acquisition of the champion skill. This ability could induce the Heliophane effect. Armed with this knowledge, she understood she could repel nearly any monster. She could achieve this without nagging in combat, rapidly growing ludicrously powerful. It was then she began to ponder. As she pondered the acquisition of such preposterous abilities, the world's deity contacted her, quite literally, through a telephone. The goddess attempted to clarify the situation, An a prior uncertainty was now definitively resolved. This creature was the spider world as equivalent of Reinhardt. Kumo declared to respond until the goddess issued a trial to transform her into a flood disease. She promptly answered. Sometime afterward, Kumo was joyfully navigating the ocean as water, content at finally mastering the art of swimming. This was an ability she had never possessed in her former existence. Moments later, she commenced fishing for her morning meal. Reflecting on her model, she concluded it would be more effective to have her duplicates gradually weaken the quay. Meanwhile, she would systematically diminish the enemy forces. Abruptly, she snagged something substantial, assumed it was a tuna, and attempted to reel it in. To her surprise, she had chawed a dragon. Having already vanquished multiple dragons, she believed she could manage on more with composure. As it unleashed a torrent of flames, Kumo deployed her web and impaled it with a dark spear, swiftly vanquishing it. She then warped back to the caves, resolute in her intent to confront the puppet. The moment she materialized, the entity lunged at her. Kumo evaded, attempting to ensnare it in her web, but the creature effortlessly shredded her bindings. She subsequently conjured a deluge of water and ascended to the surface. Once the water dissipated, the puppet lay inert on the ground. She resolved to resume fishing in the ocean. But her magical intellect alerted her to the approach of an immensely potent foe. A brilliant flash subsequently erupted on the terrain, and the emerging menace pierced through the resulting dust cloud. Kumo attempted to employ her perception ability, but her status was obstructed. Utilizing her knowledge skill, she discerned that the adversary was a primordial pterodactyl, level 139, an ancient and divine entity, and a demon lord. As she attempted to escape, a monumental explosion ripped her body asunder, but Evon assumed her demise. That assumption would be encouraged, for with her overpowered abilities and immortality, she remained entirely unharmed. Nevertheless, she was uncertain about the duration required for the remainder of her physique to regenerate. When a shark leaped from the water to consume her, she instantly obliterated it with dark magic, feeling relieved that her abilities remained. She contemplated employing healing magic to accelerate her regeneration. Yet she understood that a complete recovery would still require several hours, and she couldn't afford to expand MP, given the demon lord as potential to materialize unexpectedly, and eliminate her. During her wine, she began to ponder the demon lord as pursued, ultimately concluding that this could only be her mother's machination, particularly since, on a subsequent encounter, not even immortality might suffice to save her. Thus, Kumo commenced devising a fresh survival strategy. Within a few days, she had fully recuperated. She emerged from the water, consuming a fish. Upon completion, she started ascending a tree. Desiring to ascertain her whereabouts, she employed her clairvoyance ability and successfully sighted the city before her. Directly before her, a carriage traversed the road, and she recognized the occupants as the identical travelers she had rescued Desprian. However, upon observing Abuso, she realized that the elves still harbored intentions of abducting the infants from the travelers' dwelling. A contingent of elves neutralized one of the sentinels and infiltrated covertly, aiming to snatch the child. Yet upon entering the chamber, they began to collapse sequentially. As Kumo eradicated them with her cursed eye, she quickly began tracking the final survivor and pursued him to his settlement. Kumo observed that additional elves remained and questioned their unwavering resolve to seize that particular infant. On the subsequent day, Kumo witnessed a group of elves venerating their goddess and proceeded to eliminate them using her cursed eye. Within a matter of days, she had successfully eradicated all brigands in the vicinity of that city, even though the territorial lord dismissed her as merely a loathsome and repulsive insect. The populace was persuaded that she had been dispatched by their divine patron, After the Demon Lord holds the designation of ancestral divine Besta, a woman from the urban area approached her, pleading for the healing of her severely ailing son. Consequently, Kumo descended from the tree and chose to examine the child's condition, discovering that the boy was afflicted with liver cancer. Kumo questioned if the family lacked food, noting the mother as evident malnourishment. Saying to her exhaustion, Kumo applied healing magic to both. Once restored, the woman presented her with an apple. Within the subsequent week, the entire city started revering Kumo, proclaiming her a divine creature. They also sold small toys modeled after her. When Kumo attempted to clarify she was the divine, her protests were perceived merely as shrieks. The populace misinterpreted her cries, believing she was requesting to us the spider is lavatory. Concurrently, Shun and his companions reached the teleportation portal destined for the Elfas settlements. Given that the location was safeguarded by an enchanted shield, it was clarified that this circle represented the sole means of entry. Immediately upon vanishing through the teleportation, they materialized within the village, only to be instantly met by a contingent of Elfas. Oku stepped forward, presenting his entire group of friends, and declared their intention to assist in the conflict against Hugo's forces. Nevertheless, one of the Elfas promptly commanded him to depart, as the Elfas harbored no trust for human. Just then, Potimas emerged from behind the elf, instructing the group to stay put. His appearance stunned everyone, as they had previously seen Sophia slain in the preceding skirmish. Within the village, Potimas revealed that Hugo was advancing with an army of 80,000 soldiers, and that all the surrounding cities mistakenly considered Hugo the genuine hero, unaware that Shun was the actual one. That evening, Shun started to harbor suspicions that the Elfas may be attempting to ensnare them, as the Jurizet that Alka had covertly appraised Potimas of their presence. The following day, they reached the reincarnated settlement, where the surviving reincarnated student resided, and toiled on the farmland. When a young woman introduced herself as Sashi, the group quickly identified her as their former class representative. Soon after, the other students began rushing towards them, eagerly introducing themselves. As everyone entered the dwelling, Oka declared his departure and simply walked off. Within the house, the students continued their introductions. They liked to be reconnected at last. However, following all the introductions, Shun observed that two students were absent, one of whom was Kumo. When Shun inquired how they had possibly ended up in the Elfas village, Sashi clarified that some had been sold by their own parents. As they were regarded as enigmatic entities, meanwhile, in the city, Kumo sensed that the Demon Lord had departed the labyrinth's confines, and was now moving towards her location. For a brief moment, she contemplated Frein, but then she understood that her mother remained ensnared in a lower stratum, utterly debilitated by the assaults from her own replicas. Recognizing this opportune moment, she instantly teleported to the caverns, a rather formidable ability, indeed. Nevertheless, upon confronting her mother once more, anticipating a straightforward triumph, she realized too late that she had become entangled in her mother's intricate webs. The queen attempted to dispatch her instantly, but Kumo severed her own ensnared limbs, and succeeded in springing clear. As her mother attempted to engulf her with a powerful gust of wind, Kumo clung on with all her might, even managing to evade the scorching effects of the devastating inferno. Subsequently, numerous webs started to coil around her, and Kumo unleashed her dark projectile, yet it failed to inflict any harm. Our Tachi would be utterly immobilized before she could activate her teleportation. She frantically severed the binding webs. She started to fall rapidly, and mid-descent, her mother regenerated in fragments, attempting to consume her once more. Despite this, Kumo resisted death, as she struggled to escape. The magic brain reappeared, bestowing new abilities. These powers were absorbed from her mother's astral flow, which they had recently consumed. Bolstered Betty's newfound strength, the unleashed a barrage of destructive assaults, and Kumo was instantly regenerated with all her attributes experiencing another surge. Resolved to end the conflict, she expelled an immense flame, utterly annihilating her mother permanently. Once the ordeal concluded, the magic brain issued a warning. The final replica had traversed a portal located within the mother's consciousness. This replica was now situated inside the demon lord herself, intending to assault her. At that instant, Kumo understood that the demon lord was heading back to the caverns with the intent to eliminate her, and Kumo vanished instantly in the city. A delegation from an adjacent kingdom confronted Kumo as she was dining, accusing her of having ruined their spring several weeks prior. When the local residents attempted to defend her, the envoys issued a threat of harm and insisted she accompany them. Kumo simply disappeared, heading into the forest with her fluid. From afar, she observed that the leader of the group was Agues. At the local lord's residence, she contemplated departing the territory to avoid further complications. But she also recognized that if she were to leave, the infant she had rescued would once more be imprisoned. Consequently, she resolved to stay close by to guarantee its safety. To verify this, she chose to observe the demon lord and discovered her engaged involved with a formidable self-made Doadirin. Feeling relieved, Kumo attempted to rest. At that precise moment, a man emerged from a portal, and she recognized him. He was the identical individual she had encountered previously. He introduced himself, but his name is exceedingly complex, so I shall refer to him as Gilly. Gilly requested that Kumo cast her assaults on the Demon Lord, which greatly perplexed her, given that the Demon Lord herself was actively attempting to kill her. So on, she comprehended that he was referring to her replica, which resided within the Demon Lord. Kumo clarified she had lost communication with her replica at the time she annihilated her mother. Consequently, she had no knowledge of its current action. Julie then requested that she depart the city and locate a different dwelling. Believing her immense power made her unsuitable for proximity to regular individuals, Julie wanted her to leave. Kumo, however, declined. Kumo disclosed that ever since acquiring the forbidden skill, she had uncovered applied the affection of Elves to annihilate the world. Her resolve to thwart this impending catastrophe was unwavering. Hearing this, Gilly understood he couldn't compel her departure. He then vanished into his portal. Immediately afterward, Kumo saw dress, but her heightened senses signaled danger. A volley of knives assailed her. She evaded him and employed her abilities to discern the unfolding events. Discovering a half of the Chia's human, she recognized him as henchman of the individual known as the Fat Man. This was the same person who had previously attempted to engage her in conversation. Shortly thereafter, the Fat Man appeared enraged, only to perish moments later. His demise was attributed to the spider's unique power. Subsequently, several nobles were observed discussing the Fat Man's unexpected passing. During the deck highly peculiar, they began to speculate about the circumstances and the perpetrator, until a servant interrupted them. The servant announced that the kingdom of Oz had initiated hostilities against their realm. Soon after, our beloved spider came into view. She appeared concerned, observing the widespread mobilization for war, and pondered if her elimination of the Fat Man was the cause. Observing the Lord, she perceived his deep anxiety and questioned whether he truly anticipated defeat in the conflict. Concluding that she bore some responsibility, she resolved to offer assistance. Preparations for war were underway everywhere. A magical barrier materialized, preventing any escape, and then the conflict commenced. The elves initiated the combat. Their engagement was fierce, yet the tide of battle did not favor them. Consequently, they were compelled to withdraw. Hugo, possessing immense strength, was mercilessly assaulting the lone remaining elf. Despite this, she managed to strike her companion with an arrow and erect a barrier around Hugo, who was then in the process of being suffocated. An unforeseen event occurred. The earth began to tremble, flinging her a considerable distance. Hugo then advanced to deliver the final blow. The elf desperately prayed for aid. Just then, our beloved Sean materialized to protect her. Hugo and Sean subsequently engaged in a brutal exchange of attack. Eventually, Hugo hurled Sean backward. Hugo proclaimed his intention to eradicate both, viewing them as the paramount dangers to his domain. The elf, desiring to safeguard Everion, volunteered to confront him, but her injured state prevented her intervention. Sean and Hugo then agreed to engage in a solitary duel without interruption. Hugo unleashed a potent aura, and both combatants charged forward. Despite Hugo's relentless assault, Sean successfully landed a blow to his head and a punch to his abdomen. As Sean aimed his blade, Hugo attempted to seize control of his mind using the malevolent luminescence from his eyes. However, Sean successfully resisted, having developed an immunity to all forms of magic since earning the title of Dragon Slayer. Hugo commanded his surrender, but after enduring another blow to the gut and dropping his sword, he collapsed, struggling to rest. Soon retorted that the world was not owned by Aion, but rather by all its inhabitants. Witnessing this, Sophia derided Hugo as an ignorant failure. She further declared him merely a pawn in her grand scheme. At that instant, the leader of the demon forces emerged, proclaiming his troops advance. Having utilized Hugo's forces as a diversion, the demons proceeded to assault the village with the intent of annihilating the elves. Soon resolved to confront Sophia, but upon seeing Yuri being led away, he attempted to pursue her. Sophia, however, obstructed his way. He launched an attack, but Sophia conjured her sword from the earth. With a forceful shove, she flung him a great distance, taunting him as a feeble child. He made another attempt, but she effortlessly evaded and repelled him once more. Acknowledging Shun's inability to overcome her alone, the group resolved to assist him. Two additional individuals rushed to engage the demon commander. They exchanged powerful energy attacks, driving him from the combat zone, while simultaneously, Yuka discharged an arrow. Sophie, however, shouted the projectile and effortlessly evaded all subsequent ones, even deflecting Hiron's shield. Say, and the other non-player character attempted to strike her, but Sophia subdued them with minimal effort. She clarified that she was deliberately holding back. This was because her master had commanded that none of them be killed. Yuka launched another volley of arrows. Yet, Sophia effortlessly parried every projectile. Shun attempted to exploit the diversion to attack her, but he was once more repelled. When he questioned why his life was being spared, Sophia responded that it was due to their status as administrators of this world, and the collective power of all of them was required. Manuel, or cherished spider, Akuma, was observed elsewhere. She was preparing for combat, delivering her characteristic eccentric monologue, and reveling in the mutual slaughter unfolding around her. Anticipating a significant gain in experience point, she then plunged into the fray, triggering an immense explosion. Delighted by her level up, she witnessed a skirmish erupt nearby, but we shall disregard that rather simplistic PlayStation 2's quick confrontation. Instead, let us turn our attention to Shun's more compelling battle. The combatants here were engaged in fierce clashes, and Shun's faction was struggling. Nevertheless, he remained resolute against capitulation, convinced that vanquishing Sophie represented their sole opportunity to secure victory in the war. Suddenly, an unknown, seemingly deranged individual descended from the heaven, effortlessly felling the unfortunate NPC with a single kick. As he confronted the assembled group, Everion recognized him as the final reincarnated student, apart from Kumo. No one comprehended his allegiance with the demon forces. The young man, identified as Kyoka, clarified that the administrators had mandated the extermination of the elves, perceiving them as a global menace. In his capacity as commander of the demon army, it was his obligation to participate in the conflict against the elven population. As he raised his hand, an immense demonic host encircled him. Yet, a gateway materialized before Shield, from which elves materialized, issuing a dire warning. Trichotione thought the demon lord was assaulting the elven settlement, and soon alone possessed the power to thwart her. Before they could transport him, however, the human, Kyoka, impaled an elf with his blood, ending its life instantly. The surviving elves retaliated with an attack, but Sophia eradicated them all using her dark mist. Following the elven leader as player, robots were conjured through gateways, promptly moving to engage Sophia. As she attempted to neutralize them with her shadowy mist, she discovered the automatons were entirely impervious to her assault. Encircled from every direction, the robots unleashed a volley of fire, yet once the smoke cleared, Sophia stood unscattered, shielded within a defensive pyramid. As the mechanical units pressed forward, they initiated another series of assaults, but Sophia unleashed a massive surge. This immense force began to submerge them into the earthing. The elves then launched additional volleys of arrows, but Sophia retaliated with yet another destructive wave, annihilating them completely. Soon, attempting to intervene, charged towards her, but Kill conjured a sword and a hellish portal. Kill parried Shun's assault, and sent him fleeing with a kick. Shun managed to regain his footing, so he lost a tooth during the impact. As a whole host of elves charged towards him, Kelly manifested a demonic gateway and unleashed a torrent of infernal arrows upon them. This swiftly eradicated all of them in mere moments. Two smaller individuals then assailed the man, but he effortlessly deflected both of their strikes. He then thwarted another of Shun's attacker, treating him as the most feeble hero ever, before violently shoving him away. Kelly attempted to decapitate him, but Anna materialized in front, intercepting the strike in his state. In an effort to rescue her, Shun commenced using magic to mend her wounds. At that precise instant, the system declared they had attained the maximum level of proficiency. It also stated that the taboo had advanced to level 10. Immediately upon his awakening, this system proclaimed that the taboo would be initiated. Shun then started screaming in agony, as Keisha's magic proved ineffective in healing him. Seizing this opportune moment, Hugo attempted to assault Sophie from the rear, but she detected his shadow and effortlessly parried his sword. She hoisted the young man by his side, poised to deliver a finishing blow, when a brilliant radiance illuminated her face. This caused her to realize behind her master had at last made an appearance. Just her, were focus shift to Kumo. Guo will not go in the to mind and effects, such as weight like carga inusual manifestation. Shindo exists as a hybrid, part human and part arachnid. Subsequently, she deposits some provisions for her progeny. She departs, contemplating her next course of action. She observes that the whole city is engulfed in flames. Furthermore, elves are breaching the mansion. The circumstances are dire, and the nobility is deeply concerned by the unfolding events. They bid farewell to the infant and depart with him for a secure location. However, during the night, as he attempts to discreetly escape with the child, he is discovered by marauders. He sustains an arrow wound to his leg. In his attempt to flee, he is repeatedly struck by numerous arrows. Subsequently, the infant approaches and beats the man. This act is meant to aid him and Giventa. This infant is a vampire, the man gains immense strength. He proceeds to effortlessly slaughter everyone present. The elf leader commands his subordinates to eliminate her. Yet despite this, the man remains alive and endeavors to shield her at any cost. The elf then attempts to conjure a magical circle, but Kumo materializes and delivers a powerful punch directly to the individual's face. The other man, who had been transformed into a vampire, was on the verge of death, so Kumo intervened and yelled him. The elf inquires about her identity. Kumo attempts to erect a magical barrier, but the man nullifies it, identifying her as an adversary. He introduces himself, then charges at her. Their ensuing battle is chaotic as he renders her magic inert. She attempts to leap onto the wall. However, she can barely move a single step. She employs her jagged acceleration skin to try and achieve, but finds herself utterly incapacitated. As all her attributes are being suppressed, she resolves to engage him in close quarters combat regardless. She succeeds in launching a counter-attack. Yem, she discerns that he is an automaton. She concludes that she must defeat him swiftly, and that could resume their first struggle. The individual abruptly produces a machine gun from his hand. She narrowly evades the direct impact but still sustains a hit. With expert evasive maneuvers, she even manages to detach her head, yet still strikes him. The robot understands the necessity of ending her immediately to prevent future complications. The assailant continues to wield the pill-fired bazooka. Kumo, unfortunately, can only evade. She even attempts to employ her EV ability, but the opponent swiftly dodges. Consequently, she opts to await the opportune moment to attack. Abruptly, Ariel demands an explanation for Potima's engagement with Kumo. He forcefully stamped his FOOT and instructed her to face him. Ariel retorted by tearing his shirt off with a single slap, vowing to reduce him to mere scrap metal. With her adversary vanquished, Ariel approached Kumo and offered Asia Severe. She acknowledged that her abyss magic would be incapable of obliterating Kumo. Moreover, Kumo's internal replica persistently swayed Ariel as cowardice, leading Ariel to the conclusion that retaining Kumo as an ally would be more beneficial. The two clasped hands, formalizing an unlikely patch. Concurrently, the genuine Potimas regained consciousness in a laboratory teeming with his duplicates, firmly believing that Kumo now represented a genuine and unforeseeable danger. He resolved that on their next encounter, he would eradicate her without reservation. The following day, Kumo and Ariel departed the city in tandem. En route, Ariel extended an invitation to Kumo to enlist in her forces, as her objective was to dismantle the Atlantic Potimas before they could devastate the entire planet. Subsequently, Ariel summoned the individual safeguarding the young girl, Sophia, to also become part of their contingent. Given that they both were no vampire and without a home to reside in, the young man felt utterly bewildered. Upon discovering his transformation into a vampire, Sophia expressed remorse for her role in his change. Yet, he declared his contentment at the prospect of eternally safeguarding her. Subsequently, he consented to accompany him towards the demon's domain, recognizing the profound potential of this juncture to alter global destiny. Kumo chose to join their pursuit, by consolidating the powers capable of averting its ruin. Thus, she ultimately allied herself with Lo as their champion. And so, our extensive summary concludes here. We trust you found it enjoyable. Please remember to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Additionally, leave a comment below saying I love spiders. This way, I'll just little bit until we win. That's a unicorn. Where are your instructions? Wait, no bet you, Young Emperor.